Hello, fellow Pops. I'm Dr. F Scott Feil, and I'm bringing you a message from our sponsor at Ice Shaker. My diet's always been a little bit messed up most of my life, and I recently started trying to take back control of my health. And one of the issues my doctor pointed out was that I needed to make an increase in my protein intake. Now, I can't eat chicken breasts all day, every day, so protein shakes and powders have become a big help. Ice Shaker and its built-in removable agitator is an amazing product. They come in a bunch of sizes and colors, and you can even get inscriptions and logos on them. They're stainless steel, double wall insulated, and hold ice for 30 plus hours. If you're interested in purchasing one, you can click on the link in our show notes. Or if you're interested in selling them for your business and making commission, and let's be honest, if you're listening to the Professors of Profit vlogcast and you can consider yourself a pop or a professor of profit, you're likely interested in selling these as a side hustle. You can click on that link in the show notes as well. Or you can reach out to me directly on social media. I'm pretty available there. I love Ice Shaker, and I'm betting you, your patients, and your clients will too. Ice Shaker, let's shake things up. Now let's start the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Professors of Profit vlogcast. I'm your host, Dr. F Scott Feil, and we have a very special guest on today. It's one of our special episodes, so this will be a little bit deeper dive into a topic that I feel is super important, but I also don't recommend it to a lot of my students because I feel like it's kind of a complicated topic. It takes a long time. Yet at the same time, it's something I feel like we need to have. So luckily for us, I brought in Sabahs Ali to tell us a little bit about her story and how she is the expert on branding and why it's so important, and maybe some things that we can do to start thinking about our brand and how to really turn that into something that can help propel our businesses forward. So Sabah, thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your journey and how it's led you to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me again. I love coming on and just sharing my story, sharing my experience, and of course, giving away a bunch of value when it comes to branding. And it's so funny that you said, of course, people know that they need a brand, but it takes people either a while to have it come into fruition, or they may spend too much time at the wrong areas when it comes to branding. So I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about that, later on. But yeah, basically how I got started, I just started to create content online on social media. And I got started when I was actually in college, when I was 19 years old. I'm 25 years old now. I graduated about 4 years ago, and I didn't get started in my coaching business by, waking up one morning and saying, I'm going to start a business, right? I basically got started by people coming to me, asking me for help on how am I creating content? How am I growing my audience? How am I speaking on stages? Like, how am I doing this online? I want to do the exact same thing, right? So for me, for the first almost 1 to 2 to 3 years, I was just online creating content, and I was quote unquote building a brand without really even knowing it. So when I officially did start to launch my coaching business about 3 years ago now, I already had people who wanted to learn from me because I had built this following, this audience, and people already knew me. So, fast forward now 3 years later, I do everything around branding and helping people discover what I like to say, their unique factor in themselves that they can use to market and brand themselves online to grow their audience and scale their business. Right. So, that's who I am. That's why I'm here. And I'm really excited to dive deeper into everything.
I started my brand, PT Educator, years ago, before I was even an educator, right? I was working on an educational doctorate. I thought I might teach maybe later down the line when I was a retiree, and I left clinical world and I wasn't going to do that anymore. But then I realized this could turn into something eventually. And sure enough, COVID hit and I kind of got forced into the academic world a little bit sooner than I wanted to. But at the same time, I knew that I was doing things on top of my 9 to 5 that were just as important to me or fulfilling for me, or something that I felt could be helpful and impactful to other professors or other healthcare professionals who came out of school with such high student loan debt. And we can use a lot of our skills to help create a business or something that we could help others with that could help pay down those loans quicker, right? That could help us really build our business. And so the brand started very similar, unbeknownst to me, with just kind of creating content and documenting my journey of becoming a professor eventually. I didn't think it was going to happen this soon, but it did. And since then, now I've kind of, I leaned into it a little bit more, and now I'm actually doing the teaching, right? I'm a full-time professor now. And I've had a podcast for 5 or 6 years now on healthcare education, how it's been a broken system and how we're trying to fix it. And again, I started out as not the expert, not even teaching, just having the experts on to talk about their ideas. And really, that's aligned very nicely with what I'm doing on my side businesses and side hustles, because again, it's helping people, through education, online courses, the podcast, and all these things. They all kind of fall under that umbrella of education. So again, PT Educator, it started as physical therapy educator, but it's become so much more than that. Now the brand just kind of fits nicely with what I'm doing. It kind of fell into place. But what would you say to somebody who's just getting started with maybe a side hustle gig or a side business, who's looking to maybe incorporate branding or start branding from the get-go? Because I wish I had more knowledge when I first started. It would have probably worked out a little smoother.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I love to describe branding, I like to say there's external branding, then there's internal branding. So I'll start with external branding. That's typically where people spend the most time on. And that really is what you need the least in the beginning of your business, right? So when I say external branding, that's what you see in terms of like the website, colors, logos, all like the visual branding that makes everything in sync, everything that looks pretty. Of course, that is going to be valuable in the long run because people will recognize you based on colors, brand, everything like that. But you don't need it, right? So I see a lot of people spend time on creating like a website. It takes them months and then they don't even get started in their business, which I don't agree with at all whatsoever. But the side that you do want to have clarity on when you are starting a brand for your business is internal branding. Now, that is the message, the identity, the personality, the way that you're actually positioning yourself in the marketplace to be that go-to person, right? So how I look at branding, it's not even something that you like almost create. It's something that's just you, right? Because you are your brand. It's not like you're creating your personality or creating your voice. You are already you. Most of the time, people struggle in how to use their story, their message in a way that entices the right type of people into their world and to attract clients, right? So that's the portion that, I come in and we take a look at, okay, what stories align with the type of people that you want to attract? What about your personality sets you apart from someone else who might be doing exactly what it is that you're doing? So the easiest way that I would tell somebody if they're starting, a side business or even want to, turn it into a full-time business is market yourself, your products, your offers in a way as if you're talking to your best friend. I like to call this like the couch scenario, right? If you're sitting on the couch with your best friend or significant other, how would you be talking about your offers, your program, your business? I promise you'll probably be so much different than how you're actually explaining it online right now.
Yeah, I wish I could give myself credit for a lot of the stuff that I did and pat myself on the back, but it just kind of happened, right? For me, the external stuff, all of my stuff was always going to be blue and orange because that's always been my colors. I'm from New York originally. The Mets, the Knicks, the Islanders, all my teams are blue and orange. The Giants are blue and red, but still that blue and orange theme throughout. So I always knew everything was going to be blue and orange. Those have been my colors, from when I was small. But then even in the book that I've written, PT Educator, Student Debt Eliminator, the first paragraph talks about, how you have that friend that comes in and says, so I've got a story, right? That friend is actually the person that I can bounce ideas off of and pull out from me that identity. So I love that you said that because, again, I wish I could take credit for that, but it just made sense to me that's what I needed to tell my story. And again, story to me is so important. And I've told the same version of my story over and over and over again for years now, because, again, that is who I am. That was what my story was. So is it changing and adapting as I'm growing and I'm learning? Sure, yeah, but the root of it's still the same, and the message is still the same. So, I think it's very important for people to realize that finding that identity and finding that story as early on as they can that differentiates them makes things so much easier. Because again, even if there's people doing what you're already doing, your take on it, your view on it, your vision is going to be completely different. So two books on the same topic can be completely different. Even if somebody's already written it, they haven't written your story. They haven't written your take on it. So, I love that you say that. And that makes me feel good, because at least, like I said, I feel like I stumbled into a couple of correct items on the checklist. But let's talk a little bit now about like long-term vision on the brand. Like, I know it's okay to change and pivot and do some things, but like how rooted should we be in some sort of long-term vision for the brand? What do we need to think about when we're thinking long-term?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I preach personal branding is because if at any point in your journey, which will probably happen, you want to stop coaching, or you want to stop doing what it is that you're doing, or you want to sell your business, you can do that, but your audience will stay with you because they love you, right? So I talk about this all the time, right? Like if you build a brand around your business, that's still amazing. But if nobody knows like who the hell you are, then where are the opportunities after you sell your business? You have to start from zero. You have to start from scratch again, right? But if people know who you are, you're gonna have so many more opportunities than you would have if you didn't build a brand around yourself, right? So when I look at long-term vision, I know I'm not going to be a coach my entire life in some form. So like form, I will probably be teaching, right? But I know I'm not going to be doing exactly what I'm doing 10, 20 years from now. It's going to be completely different. But I do know I'm still going to be creating content. I'm still going to be providing value. I'm going to do something with my personal brand, right? So for me, it just never made sense to focus so much on building a business brand, because for one, people don't buy, like this is funny because people don't buy from like a business. They don't buy from a building, they buy from people, right? So if you can emotionalize, I like to say emotionalize your content, emotionalize your brand, emotionalize the type of marketing that you're doing, it makes it 10 times easier for someone to relate to you, right? So, when you're looking at long-term vision, it really is just logical sense on why you would want to focus on building your personal brand.
Yeah, I feel like it used to be called reputation, and now with social media and everything, it is your brand, right? Everything you put out there is your brand. And I teach this to a lot of my students too, who are, physical therapists or becoming licensed physical therapists eventually. If you don't want it posted up on a big billboard out there for everybody to see, maybe consider changing the post up a little bit. Think about something that's going to represent you, because once you put it out there, it's out there forever. Whether you delete it or not, people take screenshots, it'll be out there, and it could come back to haunt you if it's not done, professionally and in a good manner. So, if it used to be your reputation and it precedes you and it follows you throughout. Now it's almost like your brand, right? Is your reputation. How have you done over the course of time to create this brand and bring it along with you and represent, your best version of yourself or your business?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And like, also with that being said, there's been so many opportunities that I've gotten, right? Like even being on this podcast show, I've landed paid speaking engagements just by people knowing me, who I am, what I do. Same thing with attracting clients and referrals, right? It's like if people know you, they know your expertise, your skill set, like what I said, just so many more opportunities arise.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about that. Let's do a little bit deeper dive on that. So how do you utilize brand to attract customers and then eventually close and sell your stuff to customers?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, once again, like I've built my business 100% organically, so I don't spend any money on ads. The like my business, it's built on, I post a piece of content on social media, someone resonates, and then they reach out to me. We see if it's a good fit, then they join one of my offers, right? So it's really simple that you don't even need a website for someone to go take a look at everything and then wonder whether or not they should buy. It's all just on social media. So for me, it works because I love creating content. I can create content in my sleep. People sometimes ask how do I create so much content? It's because when I look at my business and when I look at selling my offers, I don't look at it as a job. I look at it as a part of my lifestyle. So for me, I create content because I document my life. That's why it's so easy for me to create it. And that's why it flows. So one of the best things that people, come to me and tell me, clients, people I've never met, is I feel like I know you, even though I've never met you before. I'm like, oh, like, how does that happen? It's because the emotionalized content that I create on social media. And for me, I sell it every single day. Every single day. I talk about my offers behind the scenes. I talk about what you can join. And when I say sell, I talk about my free offers and my paid offers, right? I invite people into my world, into my Facebook group, into anything, right? So for me, it's always about how can I get people to take one step forward in changing something about their life or their business, regardless of if they ever invest into me or not. I honestly don't care. I just want them to bring awareness that they have a lot of skill, a lot of capabilities that they can really utilize to create something that is unforgettable, right? So for me, since I have that drive, that passion, and once again, I didn't get started by, building a business that was going to make me money. Of course, that happened, which is amazing. But for me, I got started simply because I wanted to help people deeper than just helping them build a brand online.
Yeah, I think that really becomes huge because the money is a byproduct, right, of helping people, of having impact. And I try to teach my clients that, my mentees that hey, look, building a business and making money is great, but it also becomes a byproduct of how many people you can help and how well you can get the results that they need, and the money comes when you put together these great offers and these amazing transformations and being able to get those results. And I think the next question I have for you then is, okay, so we have some clients coming in, reaching out to us, buying offers and stuff. How can we then leverage brand for other opportunities outside of business to client interactions or whatever? I know you've been on the big stage talking for the TED Talks a couple times and some of the news outlets and things like that. So tell us a little bit about how you can leverage brand to do some of those alternative things.
For sure. Yeah. So for me, just like what you said, speaking on stages, I had the opportunity to speak on 2 TEDx stages, which was amazing. Right. So, when you have that brand, that recognition, of course, people want to feature you. Right. When I did a lot of done for you work. I actually did done for you, branding, social media work before I got into coaching. I would help people get featured on media publications. I would actually do the work and get them featured. And one of the things that got me and my clients the ability to get featured was really that story and that brand positioning, right? It's these media outlets, NBC, ABC, Fox, whatever it is that you're trying to get published on, they're actively looking for stories, right? But once again, if nobody knows who you are, there's no reason for someone to feature you. They're not going to. And then the same thing about speaking engagements, right? I distinctly remember I got this speaking engagement about 2 years ago, paid one where they flew me out, and simply because I jumped on live on Facebook and I was talking about something that I was really passionate about. I wasn't selling anything. It wasn't scripted. I was just talking. Someone so happened to catch the replay, not even live, and they wanted me to speak at their event, right? So things like that. It's not even something that's structured, but opportunities arise because once again, people know you have that expertise. And then of course, your audience are your fans. They're going to tell other people about you, and that way you can get a lot more opportunities. Something that's also been really fun that's been happening with me is I've been dabbling much more on TikTok, and of course I've been on Instagram for quite some time now, but brand deals, that's really fun to me. For me, once again, my personal brand is me as an individual. It's not just my business. So I use products that I love. I talk about it already. Another great way for me to make passive income, if I can promote products, get paid for it, get free products, right? So it's like, I feel like people don't sometimes realize how diverse your brand can be, and how many streams of income you can generate from doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is huge. And that's, the main thesis of my book is that, look, yeah, we can be healthcare providers, right? But there's several streams of revenue we can create because of our background, because of our experience. It doesn't just have to be that 9 to 5 clock in, clock out mentality. There's so many other things and other avenues that we can venture out into to diversify our streams of revenue, and I talk about this a lot, but if you're the best physical therapist in the world and nobody knows who you are, it doesn't really matter, because nobody's coming to see you. Nobody knows how to get in touch with you if you're not, I call it, just basically promoting yourself unapologetically, right? You believe in your stuff, your stuff works, put it out there and just don't look back, and so, I think it's important, especially, in the healthcare world, but also across all platforms, to realize that to get to where we are in this day and age, we had to have life experiences and life skill sets that got us this far. And, leveraging those and being able to do things like that and have, people reach out to you and prophesize you, right? And spread the good word of what you're doing. That all comes along with being natural and being authentic and really living your truth and your brand. And then that eventually leads to good things, which, again, I'm not a huge believer in luck. I think you work really hard to then set yourself up for opportunities to fall in your lap at that point. And it's that hard work that's allowed you to then pounce on those opportunities when they happen. It's not like you just got lucky one night. Now you're on all these TV shows and stuff. Like,
I agree.
People think that all the time, like, oh, how lucky he got. Like, no, it was hard work for 10 years that got him to that point. So Sabah, tell us a little bit about maybe tips, tricks, pointers, or anything you've learned from, your now years of experience in branding, and anything you'd like to share with the audience about the things they could do to kind of get ahead or start working on this stuff.
Yeah, what immediately came up, which I don't talk about a whole lot, but it popped up in my mind, is when you are marketing, creating content, putting yourself out there. I've created a lot of content, right? Thousands and thousands of videos, written posts. What I have found is the posts where I just talk. It's not structured. I don't have an intention behind it. It might have a really good story, and it's just in the moment. Those are the ones that perform the best and attract the most clients, right? So one of the reasons why that happens is because you have no expectation for someone to reach out and buy your program, right? So when you're actively writing a post, most of the time people are thinking about, what words should I use to attract a client? That generalizes a lot of your content, because it's not really flowing from the true, process of what you actually want to say. So one thing that I'd highly recommend people to do is, when you're creating content, don't think of it in a way of, what can I say to, get a client or sell a spot in my program? What do I want to say today to get a message across to somebody on the other side that might be watching or reading, this post or this video? I can talk so much about, structure when it comes to content and everything like that. But like hooks is something that's always worked for me. People's attention span nowadays is like not even there. It's non-existent, like 3 seconds, 5 seconds max, and then they're scrolling. So you can create the best post ever, but if no one actually stops and reads it, it's going to go in the garbage, right? Like no one's actually going to take the time to read till the very bottom. So I would say like put most of your attention on the actual hooked, the first 3 to 5 seconds of a video, and that will get you much more attraction than, spending 30 minutes or 30 seconds introducing yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, one of the things, I think good professors know is we learn better through storytelling, so it makes a lot of sense that the posts where you just tell a story that hopefully brings a point across to get a message out there is what's resonating best with people, because we learn better through stories. We make connections that way, and it sticks a little bit better, and we can remember things better as opposed to just like cold hard facts that we memorize, so I love that point so much. But Sabah, thank you again for your time and for coming on here to educate our audience on all things branding, and hopefully they take action with some of your tips and pointers. Where can people find you if they want to reach out and see some of your programs that you have to offer, and where can they follow you online and on all the socials?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is on social media. I'm very active on Instagram. So my handle is at the Sabahs Ali. Feel free to connect with me on there. If you click the link in my bio there, I have tons of free resources. And then I also always have the links to my newest and upcoming programs. So I love connecting with new individuals. I always tell people, just even look at the way I'm producing my content, my hooks. And if you go through all my free content and you actually implement it, you can become a millionaire. So I highly recommend doing that. You don't even have to invest into anything. If you actually consume and implement, you can see a lot of results.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll put all the links in the show notes so people can find you easily. Sabah, thanks again for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.